Welcome back, guys. It's Jay from Bulletproof MTG. Just want to bring something a little different to the mix. As you guys know, we do a podcast once a week, mainly on Saturdays. A lot of times after our standard showdown at one of our local LGSs. But I'm going to actually do something a little different this week. Instead of writing an article, I will touch a little bit briefly in my article section just to give you guys a reference. But I want you guys to refer this video to YouTube. It's going to be on our channel. It's just going to be something I've tried different. And actually might come out with a little bit more of a weekly vlogs just for something my sake and just to give a little bit back to the community for you guys. As you guys, if you guys have seen our podcast this week, we talked a little bit about what's in the standard metagame. I touched briefly on Grixis, and I actually enjoy playing that. I was fortunate enough to get some Nicoboluses and build a pseudo Grixis mid-range deck. It did fairly well. It went 3-1 in Showdown, losing to a green deck, which was really rare, but it's just something that I'm toying with right now and seeing how well the meta can change or where I need to fix my holes. I believe a lot of it has to do with my 4-drops. I'm running Nicobolus and a few other cards, but nothing that's like powerful. I think my Contemps and Nicobolus is the only thing I'm running. I'm thinking about adding maybe possibly Chandra, or even try out a Gonti in that slot. More creatures, more ETBs, something to actually give myself that competitive edge. As for what everyone has noticed is that we live in a different world right now with Magic, with having 7 sets, I believe, that's part of standard rotation. Now, for those of you that don't play standard, this may not be a vlog that you want to listen to, but even for those that don't, this is something you probably experienced even when you're going through the modern game, is that modern is so wide open to all these options that we have out there, and even though the decks stay particularly the same, it still rotates slightly when new cards come out. So it gives that little bit of a, wow, can I do this to my deck, or should I do this to my deck? I don't know. It's all into you guys' ideas and your creative mindset. We all are a different breed, and we all want to do something that just impacts ourselves in our own personal way. I 100% back anybody up that wants to do that. But as for my my article or my vlog for this week is going to be about mid-range game and where I stand on my mid-range game. Like I said, I'm sitting with Grixis right now, but I really want to see something take over in the mid-range green-white colors. I feel that white is at a very powerful position right now, with one card that was added to core set 19 being a Johnny, Adversary of Tyrants. This Planeswalker is on par to be probably one of the best 4-drops in the game, next to the Rekindling Phoenix, next to Nicobolus, next to probably anything that would be up in that level. 4-drops, even Hazaret, yes, he's rotating, but Hazaret's one of those dangerous 4-drops. You're like, this is something that's going to be overwhelming very, very quickly. For those of you who don't play the mid-range game, or maybe you're an aggro player, or like my buddy from Bulletproof MTG, Mark, he's a control player. His heart is set on control. His heart is set on, I'm not going to play on my turn, I'm only going to play on your turn. Unless he's resolving like a Teferi, or he's playing Search for Iskanta. I think that's the only 2 cards he plays on his turn. But hey, that's what control players do. They play their game in a manner to wash the enemy out and then allow themselves to control what they want to do, how they want to do it. It's almost like as though you're playing chess without seeing all the pieces on the board, and they just go, I'm going to do everything I want to, and then say, nope. So it's not everyone's forte. For me, I did try it, but it just doesn't feel like something I want to do. But white with a Johnny curves out perfectly with History of Benalia, followed up by a multitude of knights that will allow your board presence to be so big, so powerful, and almost near impossible to get rid of. It's a crazy, crazy thing to think of. But when you can resolve a History of Benalia especially against, if you're not playing control. Let's just take that out of the picture, because a lot of people will say, well, I don't play against control that often. And I understand that. I don't play against it that often. And there's times where I do. I'm sitting there and going playing against white blue all the time, or I'm playing against Esper all the time. And actually, my last F&M, I played against 2 white blue decks, or 2 Esper decks and 2 white blue decks. And I'm like, that's all I'm playing against, because people want to play a deck that is hashtag meta. It really isn't nothing. But let's get out of the meta and let's say, what can be the new meta? Because if we really think about a lot of the control cards, they're actually rotating very, very quickly. Yes, we have a chance for a couple more preliminary Pro Tour qualifiers to get our hands on. There will be some Grand Prix, almost about anywhere from 8 to 12 more Grand Prix before the new rotation, which Guilds of Ravnica is coming out, and then we're sitting on Tribal. We don't know. But with a Johnny resolving History of Benalia, going into a Johnny, and then having our presence with, it doesn't matter if it's a White Knight, Black Knight, however you want to run it. In my heart, I want to sit with white and green, because it gives you protection with green, and if you wanted to wait on one turn for Shalai to make everything hexproof and you're already pumping your creatures even more than they are, who knows where you can go with this? Like, is it a thing? I don't know, but I feel like a Johnny gives a presence to bring back anything from your graveyard. It also gives you 2 1/1 counters to make a History of Benalia Knight 3/3 now. Then turning on turn 5, thus giving a Johnny 1 more +1/+1. You're talking anywhere from 7 to 8 power relatively quickly. Not to mention you probably already pumped out 2 to 3 damage here and there. Now, if you're playing against an aggressive deck via red or the red-black mid-range deck that has a lot of answers, being, Fatal Pushes, Unlicensed Disintegration, Vraska's Contempts, Magma Sprays, Abrades, I can go on and on. Even Grixis has Harness Lightning. White has the cast outs. We have cast outs now. We have murder. We have so many. We have so many removals that it just gets kind of annoying. But there's not all the answers in the world. There's not people out there. And if there's people out there, hey, you know what? You guys get the credit, because go for it. But who's going to play 26 lands and then say, I'm going to play, 34 spells to get rid of everything? Where's your win condition? You're telling me white, blue, and I've seen decks out there that is literally 3 to 4 Teferis, and that's their win condition. And really, it's not a win condition, because if you are playing against it and you were able to get rid of those 3 or 4 Teferis for some reason, you can, without killing your opponent and they're exiling your board, all they're doing then is recycling their Teferi just to deck you, and thus not really winning a game. It's a long process for someone to actually win the game doing that, and it shows a lot of the players that this is not a format that I want to play. Modern players love it because their combos are so quick and they're so vibrant, and you have a young Pyromancer hitting the floor and then transforming into your elemental and hitting them for tons of damage, and you're like, what happened? Or Eldrazi, even though it's very, very big creatures, but they're coming out on turn 4, you're like, how do you do that? Or Tron with all this uncolorless mana that brings out Karn that just really controls everything. It's a different format, yes, but at least it's balanced. Right now in Standard, we have these meta decks that are so high on the grid with being, I'm going to control everything, and you have everybody that is getting into Magic right here, real low, saying, I have these creatures, how can I get my creatures to the board? We had red so powerful not even a month ago, and now we're going into the mid-range game with the blue-black that just won U.S. Nationals. And I've always been a fan of the Scarab God since I've been in Standard. He's been one of my favorite cards, if not my favorite card, that's been printed since I've been playing Standard. There's a couple more that I can think of that I've really, really enjoyed via Chandra, Torch of Defiance. I've also really enjoyed the Goblin Chain Whirler. One of my favorite cards, and actually my son is named Phoenix, is Rekindling Phoenix, and it's red, and even when I'm playing too red too much, as for Grixis, some of those cards just mean a lot more to somebody than the average player. To elaborate further is that we're going to be going to a meta that doesn't have this sort of white, blue, I win kind of deck. Yes, Teferi will be a thing, and Teferi's going to stay in standard for quite some time unless white decides white or blue drops another bombshell of a planeswalker, which they kind of much did with Tezzeret. He's good, but he's not a controlling type of a planeswalker. And white, that's where I'm thinking of it right now. A Johnny can be the presence you need to overpower your opponent, and with the green behind you, playing those cards that are still in rotation, Blossoming Defense is just one of those cards. Llanowar Elves help you ramp. Yes, there's 2 green sources, but even with a tapped mana coming into play or a white knight that's coming down, protection from black, nothing can hurt you. You know, if you're playing against blue, the counter is there. We have to work around the counter. Not all the time are they going to have counter. And Seal Away doesn't work against Vigilance, and all your creatures are Vigilance. Let's get a little bit more crazy with this build. There's things you keep up. Not many people attack with Scarab Gods unless they know what kind of deck they're playing against. You're not going to attack with a Scarab God against white deck. Why? Because Seal Away exists. Do you want your Scarab God gone in one turn from a 2 cost? No, you don't. Yes, people have Cast Out. Sure, go ahead. Yes, it's an enchantment, we get it. Then you sideboard against it, your negates. And most of the time they will sideboard that out because it's just too slow for them. 4 mana for a Scarab God that you're going to be able to resolve before they will. With holding negate up, it happens. So let's think about what white can do, whether it's the typical white weenie, or can we beef this up having Ripjaw Raptor being a thing, or ramping it with Shalai. How about our Resplendent Angel on turn 3 rather than a History of Benalia? So you're having a 3/3 flyer, and a Johnny comes down, and you're making a 4/4 flyer in turn 5. You're making 4/4 Angels and a 5/5 lifelink. Like, is this GPG or is this white control with creatures? Those are my thoughts for what I believe can be something different in our meta. And what game do you want to play? I don't mind the player. I never had a problem with anybody playing control, mid-range, aggro. All players are good, and all players come from all different walks of life, and what suits them is what is going to suit them. But for this week, this is Jay from Bulletproof MTG. So I want to reach out to you guys and give you thoughts on what I believe can be the next rotation come via standard. Give yourself a chance, give the cards a chance, and learn to play your best game. If you're a control player and that's what you love to do, go out and do it. If you're a mid-range player, go out and do it. Don't follow pseudo, don't follow meta, don't follow any of that stuff. Do what you love to do. And really, you're going to have a better time. You're going to enjoy yourself a lot more. And you might actually make a mark somewhere that is going to change something. And you might be the next Wyatt Darby, top decking knight of Johnny when you need them +1/+1 counters, making all of them knights crazy. But you guys tune in next week for our podcast. I will update this channel as well as Bulletproof MTG with this vlog. And for all those crazy Magic players, you guys keep high rolling, keep your pens nice and clean, and don't forget, don't be taking no little baby creatures out of your graveyard to try to discard for some random event. We can see cheaters when they happen. You guys take it easy, Jay. Take care.